What's up, everybody? It's your host, Sean Thriller Smith, and you're listening to the Sean vs. Wild podcast. Today is Tuesday, February 7th, 2017, and this is episode 6. On the show today, we have Jordan Haynes, guitarist of Artifex Pereo on Tooth and Nail Records. We are going to be sitting down together to discuss life on the road, amongst other things. You're definitely not going to want to miss that. Jordan's been a good friend of mine for some years now. It's always great to catch up with him. Also, wanted to just give a quick shout out because while I was en route to interview Jordan at his recording studio, I stopped at the Circle K. Anyone that knows me knows that I enjoy a Polar Pop. And while soda isn't the best for you, sometimes I do want a Coke Zero. And sometimes I want 44 ice cold ounces of it. So as I moonwalked into the Circle K by that studio, there is a magazine rack, and who do I see staring back at me but Bronte Flores on the cover of Tattoo Society magazine. For those of you in the Louisville area, you'll know Bronte, and you know she moved to LA a couple years ago to pursue a modeling career, and wouldn't you know it, here she is on the cover of Tattoo Society. So way to go, Bronte. I made sure to scoop up a copy to show my support. And really, that's what this whole podcast is about. It's me showing my support for those of us out there trying to make something of ourselves, trying to make something out of nothing, following our dreams. And if you have a dream, guys, you might as well pursue it. You never know where it's going to take you. Other than that, today, kind of a slow week for me. There was a large professional football competition on Sunday that I heard about, where the Patriots of New England took on the Falcons of Atlanta. I have to admit, I didn't watch it. I did, however, watch reruns of Beverly Hills 90210 on Hulu. But I did hear it was a most ripping victory for, spoiler alert, the Patriots in what appeared to be under some controversial circumstances. So yeah, I'm not really sporty myself. The closest I get to watching sports on TV is like Monday Night Raw or like Dancing with the Stars. But yeah, I heard it was quite an exciting comeback type victory, and I heard Lady Gaga killed it during the halftime show. So Gaga, next time I see you, I'll have you come on the show and give us the deets. And to my wildlings out there, I didn't forget about you. Thanks again for tuning in, liking, and following the show on social media. If you haven't already, please subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music. Hey, that was a new one. Or wherever else you guys want to hear your shows, wherever you like to hear your shows. My first month, it was an absolute success. I set some pretty lofty goals, and I hit almost every single one of them. So I ain't mad at that, and I could not have done this without you guys, and I could not have done this without Joe Brock. So big ups to Joe, per usual, for staying up all hours of the night here at Supernatch Studs, booping the dials, lubing the tube screamers, and dropping big elbows on the grilled cheese pedals just to make sure that I sound good and to cover up all my mistakes. And as always, guys, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend, write a review, hit me up with that 5-star Meow Meow Beans rating, capiche? All right, everybody, I'm Sean Thriller Smith. That's all for me this week. Let's get wild.
Dude, just went to stereo.
Did it?
Just went.
I'm telling you, man, this is a thing.
It's probably your adapter.
Got a faulty... I'm going to return that back to Amazon. Does it sound all right to you?
It does. I got charged $100 the other day from Amazon Prime because I forgot to log out after Christmas.
Oh, dude, that actually happened to me last year, and the best part about it is I canceled it, and they're like, whoa. You want to cancel this? How about you go month to month for just $9? And I was like, now you're speaking my language. So I've literally kept it for a year and paid more. But I felt comfortable knowing that I got to choose that it was $9 a month instead of $100 and something right up front.
Right. Subscription based. That's pretty cool. They didn't even put up a fight for me. They're
like, dialed, we're going to write you right off.
You go straight to their website and it's like, did you accidentally pay for this? And yes. Well, here, just click here for an instant refund.
What'd you get? Christmas gifts?
Yeah, well, I was trying to get that free shipping.
Yeah,
right. That 2-day guaranteed shipping.
I feel that. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Sean vs. Wild podcast. I'm coming to you from Earlygrayce Studios, and I have Jordan Haynes, the dude that plays guitar in Artifex Pereo and runs this little studio thing, and he's putting out some of the hottest albums to come out of the Louisville metro area.
The hottest
Some
singles?
of the hottest releases come straight from this Earlygrayce Studios. Jordan, how the heck are you, sir?
I appreciate you being here.
I tried to call you to let you know that I was here, and you're in your phone, or in my phone, you were saved as Jordan Bombay.
From Ducks Fly Together.
Yes, or the Mighty Ducks. 1, 2, and 3.
Let's see. You called me something else years ago. Well, no, it was Gordon.
Yeah, Gordon.
Gordon Hanks.
Gordon Hanks, yes, Gordon Hanks. So you were Jordan Bombay, and then I called the number, and it was like, this number is disconnected. So I was like, okay, you must have gotten a new phone.
So you haven't called me in 3 years.
Exactly. I haven't.
That makes sense.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are in Earlygrayce Studios, and you have to just be here to really soak in the ambiance, because why don't you tell them what we're like in the teacher's lounge of what appears to be a very rarely used Catholic school.
Yeah, we are located precisely in the former principal's office. They probably had a few principals, but I'm in the office of the most recent one from 10 years ago. Directly next to this office is the teacher's lounge. Yeah, good call, man. I've really tried to hide that this
teacher's
was a
lounge
but
it's filled with gear, mics, drums, and other.
We've got binders. We've got condenser mics.
We've got Wuhan cymbals as far as the eye can see.
Remind me to show you a mix later where the guy had all Wuhan cymbals.
Yeah.
All of them.
It was probably me. Did I email that? I must have emailed that to you. Wuhan, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, if you would like to sponsor me, Wuhan cymbals, as far as the eye can see, brother. Tom-toms, a first act snare. That's how I roll. So, Jordan, what are some projects that you got going on here through Earlygrayce, or what's something recently that you've been up to?
I've just got a number of friends in here, cutting some new of the hottest tracks for 2017. Got a band called Wildwood in here currently. They are the country Americana / folk. I'm trying to get them to venture into some different sounds.
Trying to get them to play CDC, brother.
Play CDC. I'm getting used to these headphones. Sorry.
Do you have them in both ears now?
I have them in both ears, but now I'm like jacked.
Now you're just straight Ariana Grande right now. One headphone on, one off.
I kind of forget who I'm working with. I'm juggling like 5 or 6 different things. I've got lifelines in here. I've got
shout out to John Wilmot. Dude, John, I'm not trying to wheeze your juice whenever you get on this podcast, but John and I just had a really great experience together. Is like a couple months ago, we were both at the same 1975 concert.
Oh yeah,
and it was like we were both like the oldest people there, and he was just kind of like, I'm like, man, I'm the oldest person here, and then like I see on Facebook, he's like, I'm the oldest person there, and then I see him walking by, and then he just waves at me, and it's just like one of those things where we know.
But you're still considerably older than him, right?
Yes, I am. So that makes me yes. So we're not both the oldest.
He probably felt fine.
Yeah, he's probably like, you know what? I am a casual blender inner. I am feeling fantastic.
He probably had very little facial hair.
At the show. Yeah, because I'm 30 now, so he's
at least 20.
Yeah, he's at least like probably, oh dude, now I don't want to age him, but I thought he was probably in his mid-20s.
I mean, he looks like a little baby.
John Wilmot, if you are listening, please clarify this ASAP. The podcast depends on it. When you get on the show, you can right the wrongs and have the truth be heard. But you got Lifelines in here, you got Wildwood in here.
Yeah, I mean, just go from metal to country to got a few projects coming up. I've got Lamar Kendrick coming in next week. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't know if you're trying to keep it a secret, but yeah, we've got some hip hop in here next week. We got a little proggy band from Cincinnati.
They're called Rush.
The Rush Bandits.
You may have heard of them.
3-piece, typical.
Just
typical
modern day
3-piece.
Warriors, today's Tom Sawyers.
Exactly.
And Jordan, for the listeners out there, this is where Trash Talk was recorded. My
Yes.
favorite of the Baby Yeah records.
Don't tease me like that.
That is my favorite. I just had a conversation with Joe on the podcast a couple weeks ago that one is my favorite. And the energy is in the guitar work and the mix. It was a.
Don't forget, we used literal Tommy Lee drum samples.
That's true.
Blended in with a live kit, and I think that's really where it set it off.
I agree. I do get a lot of compliments on the drums on that thing. It's my favorite work. It's what I'm most proud of.
That's awesome, man. That means a lot considering those 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
No, that was the peak. I peaked at 2012.
I have not done anything since.
If you look at any of my SoundCloud compilations or whatnot, there's always a song from that record that makes my most recent work, even though it was 4 years ago.
Hey,
so
man.
I pretty much don't put dates next to anything so I can lie my way through my resume.
Lie my way. Guys, if you're listening, please hire me. Here's some brand new
I remix
tracks.
it every 6 months just so I can put it on my compilations.
That means a lot to me, buddy. That
Yeah.
means a lot. So you got Earlygrayce, but also you play guitar in Artifex Pereo.
Yeah,
Artifex Pereo.
Pereo.
Am I saying that correctly? Pereo.
pierogi.
Yeah, Perhoagie.
Perhoagie.
Arts and crafts Perhoagie.
There you go.
So Artifex Pereo, you're playing guitar. What is Artifex? What is, for one, all I can hear about, or all I kept reading about in 2016 was a string of unfortunate events, starting with you guys had a robbery.
Yeah.
Explain 2016 to me.
2016.
What were you guys going with
man,
there?
Peaks and valleys, smiles and cries. Just threw it out. We haven't figured the streets out, but started off. So start Christmas 2015. Right before the turn of the year, we had our trailer stolen from this facility. It was parked out in between the church and the school, and it was attached to our van. We did not think anything would happen to it, but I wasn't here for about 3 days, and come here for practice right before January, and it was gone. So no leads on that. They got away with a lot of flight cases, all of our merchandise, CDs. Just a lot of things that they got away with. Not too much of our gear, but we did have to make the decision to fly out to Portland, Oregon, to do our record a month later because we didn't have a trailer and we just felt like we could probably get there with a little bit more ease just flying. We started off the year finishing up writing and recording our record out with Chris Crummett in Portland. And came home, tried to learn those songs because we absolutely suck at playing anything after the studio.
That's the best thing. You spend all this time like writing, and you're like, I'm going to add this and this and this in the studio, and then you
absolutely cannot perform it.
Yeah, you can't perform it, and you're like, man, this sounds like garbage.
It's still garbage. A year later, we still cannot play these songs.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, guys, You Creep Me Out, which was on Trash Talk, was played live once, and that was it. And we were never able to master it. We pulled it off for the CD release show, and then we were unable to harness that energy ever again.
No, I understand that, man. That is no joke. Every band that comes in here to track with me, I'm always very weary of adding too much stuff so that they don't hate their lives.
Right.
When they go back to rehearsal or go back to playing shows.
Yeah, unless the Beatles, it's like the Beatles or something, like you're making Sgt. Pepper, and they're like, oh, well, we're the Beatles, so we don't ever have to play this live in front of you.
Great record.
Great record.
Great record.
Okay, yeah. And then we caught up with you guys in South by So What?
Yep, that was right after that.
Where are we in the timeline?
So
Right
went and
there?
did the record, came home for a couple of days, and immediately had to drive down to Dallas area to meet up with you guys and do South by So What. Ended up having to travel back with Emerosa in our van because they totaled theirs, and we got really acquainted, really close with them, 15 deep in the 15 passenger.
I was going to ask you about that, and while I'm doing that, I'm looking on my phone because Corey did send me a series of texts about just like being in the van packed in like Charlie Bucket's grandparents or something, just getting very comfortable with it with another band from Texas to Kentucky.
Texas, yeah, we did end up dropping them off in Nashville. So the last 3 or 4 hours of the trip, last 3 hours was much more comfortable.
Yeah, I feel like I could just really stretch out,
Yeah, but they were sweet about it. They didn't cause too much fuss in the van. You know, they didn't wiggle too much.
Yes, Corey, according to this text from 4:40 p.m. on one of those days, it just said, old bass player buddy from Emerosa leaned on me all night like Bubba and Forrest in Vietnam. So, guys, you heard it here first.
That way we don't have to sleep with our heads in the mud.
So you guys are cramped in there. And then, so you come back home, and that puts us probably, what, April?
Yeah, right around April. We probably decided at that point to... I'm not going to give you the day-by-day. It's a pretty long
We don't need
year.
a play-by-play.
Sorry about that. Ended up going out with our buds in XXI for a week. That was... we did a festival later that week. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It went well. It was fun. It was one of those...
We have been destroying 2016 so far.
So far, we have just... I mean, it's been all about the band, and I didn't realize how much time we spent in a van together earlier in the year, or a plane, or a studio, one-bedroom apartment.
Right.
Get home during the summer, and we had that tour in September, so we didn't do anything over the summer at all.
Don't you just love that when like your window of opportunity for summer touring it somehow closes?
Well, you know how you know the Warped Tour experience.
Yeah.
So we were kind of holding our breath, hoping we could get some dates on that, and that never transpired. So we're like, hey, we get to be off all summer and
hey man,
rehearse.
I am hanging out 24/7 this summer, guys. You cannot stop me. Me, the lady friends. I will be going to the movies. I will be roller skating. Don't even try to stop me. I don't even give a heck.
I didn't even swim once.
How were
over
you
the
here all
summer.
summer and you didn't swim?
Because I was
you
here
have
all
the
summer.
perfect body for a
floaties.
for a public pool system.
Yeah,
Yes.
just dad bod.
Me,
just
on the other
all
hand,
day.
It's like I can't go out in public. I can only swim in a private pool.
I didn't even get to go to private pools.
Man, you really missed out then.
Yeah.
So, and then when does Passengers come out?
When does it come out?
When did it come out? I'm talking about in the with this timeline. So we're in the
I
summer.
think Passengers is out. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Last I checked.
So yeah, we had a CD release tour lined up in September with I the Mighty, Dayshell, and our other Kentucky buds and Picturesque, and we did that. Released the album. It sold 14 copies, and that pretty much took us to the end of the year where we have not done anything.
It sold 14 copies.
14.
That is. I feel like that is not true.
You might. I mean, with iTunes, probably 17.
I believe, didn't you guys maybe get on some sort of, I think I've heard of this chart. It's called like the Billboard charts.
Bill Bob.
Yes.
It's the Bill Bob.
The Billy Bob Thornton
Charts.
charts.
Yeah.
You were ranked in his top 100 favorite albums.
Yeah, I really don't know how all that works. That was cool. We got to make a little aesthetically pleasing flyer that stated we were on the charts, but I'm sure we were off that chart the next day or the next week.
What number did you get?
Honestly, don't remember. I want to say like 117. Who's counting, right?
Well, you do know that people people are inspired by that around here.
No,
You guys-
sure.
You guys are four, five, six dudes, you know?
Just some dudes.
4, 5, 6 dudes.
We went out and said, we're not going to write songs that sell, but then they end up kind of selling. So yeah, that should be inspirational to never, ever.
Hey,
do
it's
anything
inspirational for like I would say as someone that also plays in bands. We played together, and whether it was at an ice cream shop parking lot or it was at, in front of some hundreds of people at other venues and stuff like that. Like, I'm proud of you guys. I think that you guys are doing the thing, and you guys have achieved way more than I feel like I've achieved in many aspects. And
No, that's not true either. I mean, we've gotten the opportunity to do some really cool things, just like you guys have, and we've taken, in at times similar avenues, at times different ones, and I feel like both of our outfits have made the most of our opportunities. So
Sure.
that's what's pretty cool about it is for the length that we've been doing it, both of our bands, and being able to just have opportunities year after year. That's pretty cool, and I'm definitely proud of that.
Yeah. And I feel like, too, we're all just, like, kind of kids that grew up coming up together, kind of, playing music and stuff in our teenage years and our early 20s. And really what we're doing is we're just making something out of nothing. It's not like that any of us were like, had a ton of financial stability or a lot of
Right.
opportunities ready to go for us, like right off the bat. We had to kind of make whatever success that we have, we've worked hard for it and we've made something out of nothing.
Yeah, and
So,
it
guys, that's inspirational,
definitely
dude.
makes it sweeter in the end when it's not handed to you. I mean, that's a pretty cliche thing to say, but it's cliche for a reason, I guess.
Because it's true.
So true.
It's cliche because it is 100% accurate. So you guys are on, but yeah, 117 on the Billboard. Man, I wasn't ever on no Billboard, brother.
I mean, did you have a barcode on your CD?
Yes.
That's all you need.
That's all you need, man, is a barcode.
I got barcodes on my walls.
Guys, if you're listening out there, if you're interested in charting, step 1, put out an album. Step 2, make sure you have a barcode.
That was when we did our first EP. We recorded it ourselves. I was jazzed by the fact that it had a barcode on the back.
Dude, what if
That
it had
was-
like a parental advisory sticker on the front?
Oh, I would have quit after that. I've been trying to get my band to curse for years so that I can get that parental advisory sticker.
I'm just trying to be like the great ones before me. Kid Rock, Disturbed, Korn. I want to follow in the footsteps of those. And isn't that so funny that has all come around? It's almost full circle. Like Korn was a band
I
that,
was a huge nu metal kid.
me too, loved it. And then it went so like you could not be caught dead liking Disturbed. And now it just seems like a whole new generation of kids are like, I love Korn and Marilyn Manson and like all this sort of stuff. And you're like, it's all come full circle.
Yeah, I do feel like it is wild for someone our age to watch this cycle happen, especially with such a renownedly, that's not a word probably, but
Renownedly? I'm sure.
maybe. Renowned, just bands that you wouldn't expect, like Disturbed. Let's say Disturbed, for
Yeah.
example. No one's going to claim that they like Disturbed.
Except for me.
At
Over
this
the
point, no, I'm
years-
talking about like kids, like dudes
That's
that are
true.
20, but their bands are kind of like ripping them off in a way.
I
Korn especially.
loved Disturbed. Loved them. I saw them in Louisville, and Stroke 9 opened up for Disturbed,
Stroke 9.
who opened up for POD at LRS Fest one year. And I remember like Disturbed had like some big electric chair type
Yes.
stage show thing.
So this is early on, and this is like debut album Disturbed.
Oh yeah. And I think that the album was like nothing then, really. Like it was just kind of that new band that you found, Like,
Yep.
And
I was huge into them.
but then they blew up, and then like it got not so cool to like Disturbed, but then they were like that band where if you're listening to the Fox, R.I.P. the Fox, and you're like, say you're out and about delivering pizza or doing something on your day to day, and then like Indestructible by Disturbed comes on, you're like, hey man, like it's just me here in the car, maybe I'll turn it up as loud as I can get it, bro. And
They had some riffs, man. I remember being like 12 and 13, just super into that band, super into that whole hard rock, nu metal phase.
what are your inspirations? What bands would you say are your like inspirational,
around that era?
bands?
I would say that
or just of any era?
any era. I grew up on it was either really proggy stuff like Dream Theater or Queensryche, or just some really cheesy hair metal, but with like proggy influences. So maybe not as proggy as Yes or Rush, but as it got heavier, then I was into those bands. Metallica early on. Then towards the teenage years, it went to Seven Dust, and I was huge into Creed. I
Really?
loved
Their guitar
Creed.
work. All right, guys, you're hearing it here first. You're going to hear two adults talk about the good things about Creed. All right, and their guitarist, his guitar work is fantastic, and like Alter Bridge guitar work,
I love Alter Bridge too.
very tight. Shout out to what's his name?
Mark Tremonti.
Mark Tremonti. His name escaped me. Mark Tremonti. Shout out,
Don't
bro.
ever let it escape you again.
Now I will always know. So
Do you know the drummer's name?
no, I know Scott Stapp.
There's another Scott in the band. His name's
really?
Scott Phillips.
Ah, You're gonna have to just really learn me on some Creed here, bro.
I'll teach you everything you need to know. I'll teach you some riffs, some beats, I know you know the lyrics.
Right. Oh, definitely. 100%.
Can you give me a Scott Stapp impersonation?
Have you heard him sing the national anthem a cappella?
I don't know. I've heard the Florida Marlins song.
Oh, boy. Well, if you guys have a moment, maybe just pause the podcast right now. Maybe go to youtube.com and then in the search bar, click, and then type in Scott Stapp national anthem. He's at a NASCAR event or some sort of vehicle race,
I assume,
and he just goes for it a cappella, bro.
That's fantastic.
It is.
I need to know.
It is worth just as much hype as
everyone.
I just
Pause. Go check it out.
Go check it out immediately. Okay, so and that you were. I feel like your first bands too, weren't they more like influenced in that kind of genre of music? Like when you first started playing, would you say that was like?
Yeah, I was
more your style.
More so into aggressive music than I was things that were. My other favorite artists were like Boyz II Men, Mariah Carey, really R&B laden pop. If whatever you could muster that up into one thing. I liked early hip hop. My family always had me listening to that. So I was kind of all over the place, but I always was geared more towards the aggressive side of things, especially when I started becoming a teenager. I just wanted things to be heavy as hell.
That probably explains like your ear for being a producer or an engineer, where you're just familiar with the genre and the nuances of the genres.
Yeah.
Things of that nature, so it kind of helps you out in that sense.
Yeah, I'm definitely not especially great at any one particular genre, but I do have an interest in all of them. Every different dynamic that is out there that has been portrayed via music, I feel like I've been in tune with at some point in my life. So I want to get better at a few things. I think there's a few career paths that I could go if I really sharpen up in a few areas. Right. But for right now, it's kind of fun just dabbling in a lot of different things to find out where my strengths are.
That's kind of how I am personally. When I grew up, I listened to country music, and I felt like country music was very popular. Garth Brooks was very popular when I was, in the early 90s, I was like 5, 6, 7 years old. So, and then one day I remember, going to the mall, and my uncle was like listening to like Queen's greatest hits. And I'm like, oh, I know this song, We Will Rock You. I know another, another one, Bites the Dust, or these songs that you would hear on the radio or like at a sporting event or something of that nature. And then I bought the album on Martin Luther King Day, like 1995 or something of that nature. And that was it for me. I was into Queen, then I got really into Kiss because I was into like the way they looked and everything like that. Yeah. And then right after that, I got really into Black Sabbath and Motley Crue, and then like I feel like that was like the end. I just explored
all of those bands that you just named off. I can just see that.
You're right.
That is you.
That's my drumming style too. I feel like what's your drumming style? It's Roger Taylor mixed with like Kiss, mixed with Black Sabbath, mixed with Motley Crue.
This makes so much sense. I'm so glad to know these influences finally.
Right.
I'm surprised I never asked. Maybe I didn't have to.
Yeah.
Maybe I just knew.
Maybe you just knew. Well, you were like, hey, I'm going to put these Tommy Lee sounds. Is that gonna be good for you? And I'm going to say,
are you upset?
That is great for me. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. But yeah, and then after that, I was just like, I was into nu metal, and then I went through punk, emo, hardcore, like all that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And now I am full circle where it's like all I listen to is, not full circle, but I'm like you, like all I listen to now is like pop music.
Yeah.
Whatever's on the radio. I just get kind of tired of listening. You get kind of burnt out on the genre that you play.
Oh, absolutely. I only really make time for the friends I've made. Which,
exactly.
Which is kind of bad because, I probably need to have a newfound love for music and creating music just because my whole life for the past 10 years has been music. My job, my recreational habits, all that have just revolved around music. So I've kind of been a little jaded the last few years as far as finding new inspiration. But I do find more inspiration outside of the genre that I play in, and then try to bring those elements into that. I don't even know what genre we are anymore, so
that's a good thing. You guys are just blurring the lines. I was thinking about that because I've been listening to Passengers. I I've been listening to it just kind of in preparation. I had listened to it a few times, but I've been listening to it in preparation for this interview as well. And your music is, to me, and of course this is just one man's opinion, but it is dark and eerie, and then very pretty and sexy, and then very loud and chaotic, just all at once. Like, and it's very bipolar in that way, I guess. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
in 1 second it can be very dark, and then it can be very loud and very big, and then take you right back down. So you guys are a difficult classification, but I would say anybody that is a fan of Circa Survive or Harvard
Sure.
or Code 7. Did you remember Code 7?
I don't.
Bro, do yourself a favor. Check out Code 7.
Pause the podcast right now.
Pause the podcast, guys. You're going to look at Code 7. They put out an album on Equal Vision Records. They put out a couple albums. But yes.
I need to check that out.
Yeah. But and you know what? I'm not even going to try to describe it anymore, bro. It's go time. I'm going to play a song from Passengers right now. And the song is going to be called As We Look On. Is that correct? That's the song we're doing?
Correct.
Why don't you just give me a little snippet of what this song is about? Just tell me a little, give the listeners a little background on what this song is about, what it means to you, and then I will sit around and try to tell you my interpretation maybe later.
Well, I am not the main or even partial contributor to the lyric writing, but from my perspective of the song, it would have to probably do with a lot of the refugee crises that we have going on, and the fact that we're just, I don't know, dropping, doing the drone stuff. And
Yeah, it seemed like it was a little weird, and I was kind of into it. To me, it seemed like a song that was like warning people, like, the world's changing around you. You can't just sit down and be complacent. You have
it's very, people not wanting to open the eyes and just have empathy for everything that's going on in the world. And us as Americans, we're certainly blinded with our I guess, vices and
right with our phones,
phones and our football, and I mean,
our Instagram.
You know damn well I'm like the biggest football fan.
Dan Marino, that I am the biggest football
but,
fan. Brother.
I'm certainly guilty of just not placing my my ambitions in the right spot sometimes, as far as time allocation and energy that I put in. I think we're all guilty of it, but this song is just kind of a reminder that we can't just stand idle for forever. Everything will be gone.
Exactly.
We'll simply be gone.
It's just a race to the bottom at that point.
I feel like we'll win.
I feel very confident in our survival, and if not, we will not be here to worry about it. All right, guys. This is going to be As We Look On from the album Passengers.
Hail the sinking boat, surrender hope of vessels down, guaranteed to float. The sea will sway, but rummage rock is all that's left of home. Say she hate with waves, or hide and wait to explode. When gods of every faith can't fit in one sky. Stay, it's comfortable. Work against the state. afloat. The sea will sway, but Ramage Rock is all that's left of home.
All right, everybody, that was As We Look On from Passengers by Artifex Pereo.
There you go.
And I'm back here with Jordan. I'm back here with Jordan Bombay, Jordan Haynes. Guys, to clarify, I'm back here with Jordan Haynes. And Jordan, so we've discussed 2016 and the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys for Artifex. What's going down here for 2017?
Probably more of that. But
more peaks and valleys.
More peaks and valleys. No, we talked about it earlier. I think off air that 2016 just seemed like a reassessment period for a lot of folks, a lot of people in our industry and our community. People either hanging it up or trying to figure out what's next for them in terms of their lives or careers. And no different for us. I think we're even kind of forced with some more decision making here in this upcoming year. We did have Corey step down as our touring drummer. And this has been kind of a couple of months in the making with that. Dude's just, he's our guy. He's the guy that we would like to continue writing with and want his contributions for every record that we put out from here on out. But he obviously knows that we need to push forward from a business standpoint, from a touring entity. We can't take too much time off in that regard if that is going to continue to be our goal moving forward. So we have to figure out if we do want him to be a part of that process. Right. And
it's kind of a double-edged sword because you have to tour to get your exposure out there and things like that. But if you can't tour or all that sort of thing, like sometimes it's like you're running on a treadmill,
right? And the band has some momentum right now. We did just release a record in September. We keep getting tour prospects. We keep submitting for other tours, and we can keep this train rolling if we feel that that's the right move for our band. And I think right now we're just trying to dig deep, go down that rabbit hole of what we really want for the long term, and I have no doubts that my dudes and I can put together a game plan that gets us the best of both worlds, whether that be minimal touring or a lot of touring, more time to write, put out content, do more video things. We're just so stuck in 8 years ago when we started doing this, when touring was our main objective, and that was that was the way to go about things 8 some odd years ago. Just to get out there as much as possible, hop in the van and get some exposure. And now dudes are getting so efficient and creative with video and just the aesthetic of their brand and all that. And we've just never put time into that.
Right.
So really touring and being a good live band is our biggest strength, I think.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I don't want to explore the other creative possibilities. We just don't have a ton of resources and a ton of money to go out there and buy a bunch of film equipment and all that.
It's expensive. Unless you have it or you have access to it, it's an expensive way to go about it. But a lot of people are taking that approach where it's kind of a work smarter, not harder, and they're putting out regular video and audio content, and when they tour, it's only, X amount of months out of the year, and it's kind of like a special thing. It's not the main focus. Where we come from that school of you got to be on the road as much as possible,
right,
and put out a music video that's something special, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And to stand apart from all the other bands that have that mindset is extremely hard. And with our, I guess, ideas of storytelling and all that, I really do think that we could put together content with, visual aid that could help transform us into this new modern idea of what we've been doing.
Right.
But we just have to make sure that becomes a priority and isn't just like project sort of thing. We have
Right.
tons of friends that are just extremely talented, and we'd probably rather work with them if we could afford them.
Right, yeah.
Instead of learning how to do it ourselves. But that's kind of the thing about being a self-sufficient band and not relying on, other people's resources or a label's resources. And that this day and age, people just don't have that many resources unless they
Right.
have the money.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It has become in many senses like kind of a pay to play type mentality. It feels like
Sure.
if you have the money, you can buy on to whatever tour you'd
If you
like.
have the money, you can do a lot
have the
of
video
stuff.
that
Yeah.
you like. And I mentioned this when very first podcast we were talking about Clay Neville's from Foxbat and I were just discussing. It was like anytime we've ever tried to buy onto a tour, it's never really worked out because it'd be one of those things where it's like, this is $5,000. And you're like, well, I have $5,000. Sign me up. And they're like, well, this other band wants to buy on for $10,000. And just be like, well, sir, I am selling my own blood to pay for this $5,000. So
Yeah, and that's I think that's where we made the decision to sign to a smaller label a few years back. Was we kind of understood that we're just not going to come across this money, this bankroll to, and we feel like we spend wisely. We work with we feel one of the best producers in the business, and his rates are just more than fair.
Oh yeah.
And we don't go out and spend a ton of money on videos. We probably should, but we
Right.
just don't. So it's
Well, when every dollar goes to the gas tank or every dollar goes to, the Taco Bell drive-thru,
right.
just to get through one more day.
Yeah, we've always tried to do more with less. Feel like that's the best way to move forward and keep growing. So it's worked to a point. I mean, it's hard to gauge our level of growth, but it does still feel momentous in a way.
I think that's like a hometown type of vibe. I think like those of us that are kind of grew up in this area, like I said, where you're just making something out of nothing and trying to hang on to whatever little that
Right.
you have and try to make the most, squeeze,
Right. Well, I mean, when it's gone, it's just going to be a poof. It's not even going to register. If a band like ours, small band like ours, just disappeared, like it wouldn't be. It would crush our world. Our
Right.
world would be gone. But with how little we've grown a substantial amount since the last two records came out, in terms of, I guess, the tour opportunities and whatnot. But yeah, it's still very little growth when you have no money to do anything with.
Touring is difficult. I don't want to be like that guy that like wins the lottery and complains about the taxes, because I had a very great time and I've got to do a lot of awesome things coming from a guy that didn't go to college and didn't grow up with a lot of money, and coming from a small town in Indiana, where I graduated from a high school that was, 300 kids or whatever, like, just a small little thing. And I was able to do a lot, see a lot. And I don't want to complain about it, but that is kind of the biggest thing is it is hard. It is difficult to put your life on hold, to get in a van and rough it and just scrape by and break even. You might get in it. You might have, your successful tour might be you toured for 2 or 3 months and you came home with everybody got $100. Well, you made $100.
You made $100
for 3 months.
What the hell,
guys? I am not bragging here. I have at one point was paid $100 by myself. I didn't have to split.
Made
that.
$100 in 10 years.
I didn't have to split that 4 ways, guys. You heard it here first.
Yeah, complaining doesn't mean you're not appreciative.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just difficult. And for those of you out there, be prepared to work. If you want to get anywhere, you got to work hard. So just be prepared to work. Put in the work, or put in the budget for a video and have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, we need one of those.
Yeah, there you go. So, guys, if you're listening, if you are on YouTube and you're good at what you do, you're going to need to hit up Jordan Haynes. You're going to need to hit up Jordan Bombay. And we're going to get some videos going here for you, man.
Yeah, I need people to make me look good. That sound good.
Brother, you look fantastic. I noticed that as soon as you opened that locked door for me to come in.
That was not innuendo.
That was absolutely innuendo, guys. Man, you look fantastic, buddy.
Thank you, man.
You're just like thin as a rail.
Oh, man. I had a very, very indulgent holiday season.
I had a very indulgent dinner at Red Lobster just recently, but thank you for that. Okay, we're just talking about food. I'm going to segue. I'm going to use this as a segue.
That was smooth as hell.
It goes from touring, then we talked about Red Lobster, but what is your tour food of choice? If you had to go through one fast food restaurant in the United States, what is it going to be? I had a 30-minute discussion with Clay Nevels about this.
We can probably one-up that, honestly.
And I cut it for time because it literally made the podcast go to like an hour and 45 minutes.
I have a very, very weird relationship with food right now. Because, I mean, you've been through the diet phase.
Yeah.
You've been through, like, you've committed hard to
Right.
certain things. I do the bare minimum
Right.
on those things. And on tour, it's usually where I'm the most active. I'm not just sitting at a desk all day. So I really try to combine that with better eating habits. But you know that touring is the last place
Right.
you're going to eat well.
Yeah.
So every decision is based on damage control.
Right.
And
Subway. Are you going to say Subway?
I go to Subway often enough.
I have a Subway rewards card that I've recently gotten, and I'm just thinking, man, if I had this maybe 5 years ago, I would have at least 10 free subs. But you have to spend $100 on this card to get one free sub. And I just started implementing it a couple months ago because there's Subway right by my work, and I'm on my way to getting my second free sub, guys.
Wow.
You heard it first, guys.
That's
my second free sub.
Subway is
on the
one
horizon.
of my favorites, and it's one of the ones that can accommodate in any scenario. However, right across the street from my workplace right now is a Subway that I eat 4 times a week minimum.
Oh, yeah.
So when I'm on tour, I usually try to take a break from Subway.
And isn't that the
obviously
worst?
Taco Bell, right?
We always try to take a break from Subway, but it's like, I'd be damned if Subway didn't become 24 hours. Like I'm like
your pilot.
So you mean to tell me this is the only place I can eat? I'm trying to stay away from it, guys, but now it's the only place I can eat. Taco Bell, that's a good one.
Obviously, Taco Bell.
It's
just
open
after
late.
the shows. You can just indulge a little bit. You're right. I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed. But $1 will get me so much right now.
Yep.
And it's
I'm going to
not
go to
terrible.
bed, but not before these triple layer nachos.
Well,
become mine.
you go into the drive-thru very strong. You're like, you know what? Everybody else, I'm good. I don't need anything. And everybody starts ordering. And so I said I never get paid from the band, right?
Right.
But we now do the Taco Bell order ahead kind of thing. Like we call it in, or we use the app, the phone app.
Yes.
We already have everyone's order saved in the app. So if I don't want the chicken quesadilla, I have to make Corey, who's using the app, take off the chicken quesadilla from the list. And it's already there.
Yeah, man.
I might as well eat it.
Yeah.
It's already there. And the band fund pays for it
There you go.
because it's just linked.
Sweet perks.
So I will always go to Taco Bell on tour just because we can usually weasel our way into a free meal because the band's paying for it.
Yeah. And you get
It's already loaded.
You already got your chicken quesadilla ready to go, and you're not trying to burden Corey. I mean, he's already got a bad back already. He can't carry any more burden.
He's got enough to handle.
He's got enough on his plate right now.
Uncheck the box.
He's got enough on his plate, and I'm not trying to lighten that load with the chicken quesadilla here, okay? You know what I'm saying?
He'll feel better if I eat it.
Yeah, he would. I feel like
He's like, dude, don't you need that? And I'm like, yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, brother. Thank you for looking out for my well-being on the road. My favorite, everybody says In-N-Out, but I'm thinking In-N-Out is delicious. Did you find it overrated? You shook your head. Did you find it overrated?
I had my first In-N-Out experience on this most recent tour. It was my first time eating their burger. So I've had their fries, I've had their shakes,
Right.
and whatnot. But I'm not huge
Shakes.
on not huge on burgers. At this point I've maybe had 15 burgers my whole life. That
Right.
number keeps skyrocketing because I've eaten more burgers in the past
That's
year than
probably
ever.
the number of burgers I've had this last month.
But I did have the In-N-Out burger, and to me it tasted like a burger. I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask.
Right. You're
for-
not the
for
connoisseur.
yeah, I'm not the connoisseur. I'm the kind of guy that will go to a nice steakhouse and still ask for A1.
Right.
So I really
Can
don't
you just
have
make
an
this well
appreciation.
done? And you have ketchup.
This $50 steak, I'd really like some A1, please.
Please.
Yeah, it's that important.
It is that important. Guys, we're not sponsored by A1. All right. I just want to go ahead and
Brought
bring
to you
that out.
by.
This episode of the Sean vs. Wild podcast brought to you by A1. And I think In-N-Out is tasty, but I do enjoy it, and if I can find it, I will eat there. But
It's a novelty.
it is a novelty to eat there. I feel like certain places that we don't have that are just as tasty, if not tastier. Del Taco.
Del
for
Taco.
one. Super into Del Taco. It's like Taco Bell, but in my opinion, it's better. Why? Because they have fries, and you can put the fries in the burrito, and they'll do that for you.
I'm
Taco Bell,
not,
if you're listening, if you have fries, put them on the menu, and then Taco Bell will be better.
I think we'll just have to agree to disagree on this one.
You're not a Del Taco?
I haven't had it that many times.
Right.
What about I have Taco Bell multiple times a week.
What about Whataburger?
Not a fan.
Not a fan of Whataburger?
Not a fan of Whataburger.
Not even their like delicious grilled chicken strip sandwiches?
It's the only thing that I'll eat there, and it's still not always cooked, microwaved great. So,
how dare you? You know, Mia Khalifa was found at a Whataburger.
Who's that?
I don't know. I've heard about her. I think
she in Trump's cabinet.
It's possible. She's probably in somebody's cabinet.
Sounds hot.
Yes. Anyway, what about Jack in the Box?
Not a fan.
You're not a fan of the Jack in the Box?
Not at all.
Why? You could eat anything there.
I think that's the
Do
problem.
you want an
I'm
egg roll?
overwhelmed.
Do you want a chicken sandwich? Do you want a burger? Do you want a shake? A taco salad?
I will.
Breakfast
the
burrito?
Places that I will straight up walk from the van up to a half mile for, Chick-fil-A. That spicy chicken sandwich. I don't care how they feel about other human beings. I will eat that spicy chicken sandwich until my throat is raw.
You strike me as straight up Chipotle.
Chipotle. I actually like Qdoba way more than Chipotle.
Agreed.
But
I think Chipotle is the most overrated of the burrito
Well, it used to be a
places.
nice treat, if you ever want to splurge and
Right.
on tour and spend $8, Chipotle is totally fine. However, on this past tour, every time it blew my butthole to pieces.
The last
Just
tour that I
butthole
went on,
pieces.
here's a pro tip for you for here on out. Last tour I went on, Chipotle, I have to shout out briefly, even though I just called you the most overrated burrito chain. So look at me. I redact my statement. All right? That was erroneous. You can call ahead to Chipotle and say, hey, I'm a band on tour, and they will hook you and every member of your tour package up with a complimentary burrito of your choosing and a small drink.
I've heard this for about 8 years now.
I have
and
done
I
it once.
I have never tried.
This last tour, somewhere in Oregon, Washington, somewhere in Lucas's stomping ground, this was successfully happened.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I was impressed, but boy, could you imagine if Qdoba or Moe's or some other place of that nature would have hooked that same thing up?
Do you like Moe's or Qdoba more?
I'm much more of a Moe's fan.
I do not like shredded chicken.
See, I think Moe's ingredients are just way fresher.
Maybe.
What do you guys think out there? If you have a preference for a big burrito place somewhere within the $5 to $10 range, let me know in the comments section below.
All Louisville natives or Kentuckiana natives, rather, need to, if you want a nice, solid, fat burrito, Santa Fe down near University's campus.
Santa Fe, guys.
Actually, in between Churchill Downs and campus.
I've not been there. Being a Hoosier and then tolling the bridge, like it was a double whammy. I'm like, oh man, I can't explore new environments right now.
No, I understand. Clay asked me to come up to his boat all the time, and I was like, it's tolls.
Oh, it tolls. Hey, and here's a fun fact for you and the listeners out there. If you ever go to Clay's abode, I live 1 block from there.
Really?
And that is why Clay was the first guest on my podcast, is because we are neighbors. Also, I love his band, and he's a great guy. But bands, every one of them.
All of them.
And he's a great guy. But it is what it is. We are neighbors.
I want to be his neighbor. I want to be your neighbor, too.
Why don't you just come move in?
Listen, I've thought about moving my studio to Indiana.
Perfect. Guys, the rates are cheaper. The rent is
Oh,
less
no, my
expensive.
rates are the same. But I will make more money.
In Indiana because the rent's cheaper. You can move in. You can move into my spare room.
That sounds tight.
Absolutely. Well, Jordan, we've laughed, we've loved, we've lived these last few moments on the podcast. What's
Dude,
the
was
best
that a song?
Yes. What's the best tour story that you can think of right now? Because once you hit me with that, I'm going to tell everybody. I'm going to put down the gauntlet, and I'm going to tell everybody that my favorite Jordan Bombay story.
We'll start with tour. We're actually pretty mild-mannered dudes on the road. I don't know if it's just afraid of like.
I have never met a band that talked less to each other in a van ride. I feel like we've ridden in a van before somewhere, and it was mostly you guys just on a computer together.
Probably.
Maybe it was in Cynthiana, Kentucky, guys.
I think we
shout out.
I think we genuinely enjoy being on the road. So, you know, every band has their internal squabbles, you know, late nights and all that. But for the majority of the time, I think we're just truly content with being in a van. So there's like very little tension, very little bad vibes. Now, touring is stressful, but it's mostly like the things leading up to tour, ready for departure and
getting your rent in place.
Yeah, get everything organized. But like I think once we have that taken care of, we hop in the van. There's just this huge sigh of relief that, all right, we're doing this. It feels purposeful, and we don't feel like we're just wasting our time away, and which we probably are.
Well, so what you're trying to tell me is you've never done anything fun?
I spent the first few years in the band really avoiding all party scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Corey and I both did that. We would just kind of hang out on our phones in the corner and just hang. We had each other, you know.
Right.
That's
just
all we
two
needed.
buddies.
And you know, I didn't drink or partake in any of the social activities. The libations. Dude, I learned what imbibe meant the other day. That was pretty awesome.
Hey, man. Good job, bro,
Dude,
buddy.
Learning every day of the week. Imbibe has nothing to do with audio, but maybe it will. I don't know. Tour story. The craziest ones are when we are mad at each other, like when we just hate each other, and somebody.
Would you guys ever fight?
Yeah, sure.
Like physically fight though?
Physically, no.
We've started
gotten
doing
each
that
other
lately.
in headlocks. We've wrestled to the point of it getting serious. I think Jamie really does like to choke slam people.
Dude, just
It's
like
good
the
for him. I
Undertaker.
mean, good for him. I feel it feels therapeutic watching him. So I can imagine if I actually got somebody, if I just like choke slammed him, brought him to the ground. I think that we'd be best friends afterwards. But
that's
yeah,
the thing
feels
about it.
great.
Whenever you get to that limit, and you guys do decide that you have to physically like wrestle, right afterwards you're like really mad for like 30 seconds, and like the next day you like really have like a newfound respect for that person. And
You're
just
like a
all
little
right.
sore. You're like, man, he
did.
really did. He really did take me down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to share. You talk about how you're not wild, Jordan Haynes, but I'm going to tell you my favorite Jordan Haynes story, and that was during the recording of Trash Talk, and Jordan having a toothache, and Jordan not partaking in many libations at that point, and my band enjoying several libations while we're sitting around just listening to drums being mixed and something of that nature. So, yeah, we drank some alcoholic beverages. We happened to have some whiskey, and we decided, you know, Jordan, man, your tooth hurts. There's only one cure for this. You don't need a doctor. You don't need a dentist. You just need to drink this whiskey. And as a new experience, Jordan, really, I think you just dove in head first.
Yeah, I got to give 110%.
Yeah, you gave it all.
You just go out there and you play pretty good. And
Yeah, you know, car handled real good.
I think we played pretty good that night.
And so Jordan partook in some of the whiskey, and then the next thing I know, I'm coming back from the bathroom, and Jordan has removed his tooth. removed his hurt tooth with a pair of pliers.
This, I don't want to make it sound any less impressive, but it was only partial tooth. It was already broken, which is why it was causing such severe pain.
Guys, it was completely intact, and he ripped it out with his bare hands.
5/6 of a tooth.
He chugged a gallon of whiskey, ripped it out with his bare hands, and then smoked a cigarette, and then kissed 3 hot women. That's how cool the story was.
I remember this now.
I remember
exactly like this.
It's really starting to sound familiar, guys.
Didn't we post these things on Instagram? I think we did. Before video, though.
Yes, pre-video. Actually, you know what? I think there's a video of it somewhere on YouTube.
Good.
For the making of Trash Talk, and you're going to see Jordan remove his own tooth. Or
that's why it turned out so damn good.
I think that's what it was. You committed.
I think it was sounding like dog turds before.
Yeah. And then when you decided, hey, I'm just going to be one of the babies. And
you converted me.
It all happened. All right, well, Jordan, that's my favorite story of you. This has been a great interview. I'm so glad you sat down and had me in your Earlygrayce studio, and then I had you here in this principal's office for my show.
I hope it's not the last time I have you.
That's true. All right, well, Jordan, where can people find Artifex, find you, find your studio? What are some of your links? What are the deets on Jordan Haynes?
This is what I'm really bad at. As far as Artifex goes, we stay pretty up to date on the Facebook and Twitter and all that. You can try to figure out how to spell Artifex Pereo. I'm not going to do it for you. But
I will post the link in the show notes.
It looks
for
like
you guys.
artsy pierogies. But yeah, as far as the studio, most people in the community know how to find me. I don't really like to promote too much. A, I'm terrible at it, and B, I'm just kind of busy right now with too many things, but I'm going to continue booking and try to get better at what I'm doing. Yeah, just anybody can hit me up if you're looking for recordings and such. Just hit me up on my Facebook.
All right, you heard it. Jordan Haynes is on Facebook, Earlygrayce Studios, Artifex Pereo, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that good sort of thing. Follow him, big up the band, like their band page, all that good sort of thing. While you're at it, please feel free to like and subscribe the Sean vs. Wild podcast. I am on Facebook at Sean vs. Wild, Twitter at Sean vs. Wild, Sean vs. Wild podcast on Instagram. I'm also on iTunes. If you have an Android phone like me, yeah, I got an Android. I just admitted it.
What the hell is that?
Exactly. You can get it on Stitcher and all your other favorite podcasting apps. That's it for me. Jordan, you really did it, buddy.
Dude, it was good to see you.
It was good to see you,
too,
man.
Can we do this often? Just like without the microphones, just can we hang out?
Yes, absolutely. Our friendship is going to be worth a $4 trip back and forth on Louisville Toll Bridge. All right, guys, that's the Sean vs. Wild podcast.